Football is back. It is the best time of year. Let's get this preseason out the way and let's play some real football and win some real fantasy games.
I feel like, Stugotz, you should apologize to Mike because you made it seem like this is just like a gimmick thing. Like, oh, this time of year, his little podcast just jumps ahead because everyone wants fantasy football advice. When, like, the reality is your podcast is at the top of the charts year round, which is kind of crazy because football season is, however many months, 5-6 months long. And then the rest of the time you're still up there. So much so, Stugotz, and I have an admission to make, and I don't think that I should be admitting this. Okay. And Mike, I hope that you don't hold this against us in any way, shape, or form. But Mike last year joined our show on a number of occasions, as you mentioned, to help with Nitro. And we have competed against Mike and his podcast in the Sports Podcast Awards the past 2 or 3 years. And we were in the same category. Mike's in a couple different categories, but in the football category, we were both there. And we won back-to-back years. And then last year, we did not. And I did a dirty little trick, if I'm going to be honest with you. And you're supposed to submit little clips that show the different range of your podcast. And one of the clips that I put in there was a clip with you, Mike, and Nitro. And I said, look at how great we've covered fantasy, where I was using you to compete against yourself for an award. And sure enough, your podcast actually did better than our podcast, so the trick didn't work.
Oh, no, that is fantastic. Hey, don't hate the player, hate the game. I got to respect the sneakiness. I like it.
But I still need to apologize, Billy. I need to apologize.
Yeah, well,
Okay. All right. Sorry, Mike.
There's room for all of us, man.
How many drafts have you done already? How many drafts?
Real drafts, I've only done a handful. They really are. They're sneaking up. Starting next week is when I'll really be drafting way too much.
All right. So how many drafts do you have in your future here?
Oh gosh, I don't know. They did pop up like weeds. I mean, before it's all said and done, I'll have done probably 10 plus, and then if like there's people, there's real degenerates out there. Which shout out to all of you who are playing. They're playing best ball. They're doing drafts as soon as like the Super Bowl is done, like to be like, oh, I'm going to take care of next year right now. It's a wild world, man.
Well, I was going to ask you. I'm sorry, Billy. I was going to ask you, Mike. Like, do you ever wake up like you just wake up one morning and you say, you know what, not today. Just not today.
That happens a lot for the waiver wire, where you're like, oh, good Lord, I need to go put waivers in over here.
How soon, Mike, is too soon for a fantasy draft? Because I'm in 2 leagues, which is not that much, honestly. And I'm the commissioner of one, so I'm kind of responsible for setting the date on this fantasy draft. And I don't like doing it too early. I don't like doing it after, just one preseason game, because you never know what can happen. At training camp. You never know what can happen in these games. Obviously, the big starters are not going to be playing in week 3 of the preseason, so there's not really a risk there. But I always kind of like to wait until the last minute. So sometimes it's also just to get, like, who do I get in my last round of the draft? Like, who's someone that's probably going to sneak onto a roster that may steal some points here or there?
Do you want me to answer the how late is to draft or the player question?
He did. He has two questions there.
How late is too late to draft? Or I guess What is the right time to set up a draft?
Honestly, it's really about the comfort the comfort and knowledge of the fantasy football players and how much risk they want to take on, because the injury thing is the biggest, right? Where your second round pick, whatever, your first round pick, they go out and then they're hurt before the season even starts, and your team is toast because you've already burned that pick. So we're our main league, we call it the League of Record. We are, for the first time ever, we are drafting kick-off Thursday. Like, we're drafting, we're scrambling to put our teams in, and then we're all hanging out watching the opening night. But like, there is an advantage, or I should say a strategy of, if you really know football and everyone in your group knows football, an earlier draft can be fun, because over August, that's when these later players start to reveal themselves to the general public, because the casual players are trying to catch up. So a player, if you want my late round player right now, it's Rico Dowdle, running back of the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, despite all this CeeDee Lamb nonsense and Jerry Jones just Someone needs to get we got to get Jerry Jones out of there of running things for the Cowboys. It's time for the new regime to take over. Jerry, you had a good run, but they're going to be a good offense. That's what I think you can project confidently about them. Is they're going to be a good team. They're going to be a top 15 offense at worst. And I did a huge study of looking at running backs who aren't drafted to be great, but then end up sneaking into the top 24. And there's about 5 or so of these players every year. And the thing that all of them have in common is they're on great offenses. So I understand that Ezekiel Elliott is the name, and it's Mr. Cowboy is back with the team, but he hasn't been the Zeke that we knew and loved for. It's been a while since we've really seen that player. And even all the Cowboys beat reporters, where the moment pads came on, Rico Dowdle has been the best running back on this team, and he is being drafted after Zeke and just extremely late. I think there is a good chance that Rico Dowdle emerges as the leader of the timeshare and the most valuable fantasy football running back from that team.
All right, Mike. So people who have a bad commissioner out there and they have to draft, this week or next week, they're not doing it opening night of the NFL season. How do you go about, if you're drafting in the next 7 to 10 days, let's say, how do you handle guys like Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, and Ayuk? What do you do there?
So the big 3 wide receivers I'm not as concerned about. They know the system. Nothing has really changed for those players. And it's not like the running back position. Look, I never played I don't know if you guys know this. I never played running back in the NFL, but I can make some assumptions about playing is that your body has to get ready. You're going to be in a car crash every 45 seconds when you're playing running back in the NFL. And Josh Jacobs last year during his holdout, I was mentioning on the show, I'm like, guys, I'm a little concerned here that he's not out there getting the reps, getting his body really ready to play. Now, maybe I just got to the correct result with the wrong process, but it still led me to be very concerned about Josh Jacobs. For wide receivers, though, these guys are the elite of the elite. I'm not concerned. They're going to play. Like, they're not going to hold out through the season. At least I understand there's whispers that Jamar Chase is like, there are people saying he won't step a foot on a football field without the extension. Once game checks are up in the air and you miss a game check, that's a whole different level of cash. Like that's people's entire year's salary that they're going to skip out in a game. I don't think they're going to do it.
You mentioned before that you created this list of running backs based on good offenses. How much stock do you put into a guy being on a good offense versus, say, a Deontay Johnson who's going to be on probably a bad offense?
Sure. For running backs, it's extremely important. You have to have, there's some key tenets that we need to have for our fantasy running backs. Number one is volume. Like the phrase "volume is king" for fantasy running backs, that has been true for a very long time. That's the reason why in the first round you're seeing just essentially 3 guys. You see Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, because those are the only 3 running backs we can. Well, number one, they're really, really good at football, but 2, you can confidently project these are 3 down running backs who are only going to be taken off of the field when they're tired. You project it, because Arthur Smith has been kicked out of Atlanta for failing to do that, in my opinion. So that's why they're up there at the top. So if you're not going to find a guy who has volume, which is the majority of the running back position now, it's all platoons. Okay, now I'm going to factor in efficiency. I'm going to factor in how good is the offense, because I need touchdowns. I need touchdowns, and I need guys who are actually catching the ball, because that's how fantasy scoring works in half point or full point PPR. Yeah, I get there's some holdouts out there that play, they call it standard, where they don't get a point for catching the ball, but those are dinosaurs. Those guys are they're dying off. It's all half point, full point PPR. So it really is finding high scoring offenses and efficient running backs, because it's not the 90s anymore where 20 plus running backs are going to get all of the work. They're rotating way too much.
12-team draft. Where does Mike Wright, what's the preferred position for Mike Wright?
So I'm good, I would say, to about maybe the 106, the 107. because that way to me, I put these players into like buckets, and those 3 running backs I mentioned, those guys are in a bucket, and then the big time wide receivers of Tyreek, CeeDee, Jamar. Those are, I feel really, really confident in them. It sucks that I don't get to say Justin Jefferson's in that bucket, but with Sam Darnold being the guy for the Minnesota Vikings, and you don't have the unknown hope of J.J. McCarthy coming to take over halfway through the year anymore because of the meniscus injury, the Darnold numbers are scary, man. They are really, really scary.
Jesus.
Not scary enough to drop Justin Jefferson, who, in my opinion, is the best wide receiver in football. Can't drop him out of the first, but it's enough of a tiebreaker that I put those other 3 guys above him. So if I'm at the 106, I guarantee I get one of those 6 players, and then second round I get the best player back.
You put a lot of stock in like offensive coordinator changes in terms of like fantasy and what that might do for players like a Cliff Kingsbury or Kellen Moore. Like, does that impact players greatly or not that much to you?
It is definitely part of the process. Kellen Moore would be the name I would go to of, wow, he's kind of floating around the NFL, can't seem to hold down a job. Sorry, Kellen, that does not affect what I'm doing over here. I'm playing a different game than you are. And the last couple years, Kellen Moore has given us greatness. Like, CeeDee Lamb, the real breakout. Last year, before Keenan Allen got hurt, like he was absolutely elite. And now we're looking at him over in Philadelphia. The big thing is bringing motion to the offense. We've kind of started to talk about that a bit more. It's a deeper concept for fantasy football, but casual fans should get used to it. Looking at the teams and the offenses in particular who use motion the most, just rattle off any top-tier offense that you can think of, and they're there. They're using motion all the time, and Kellen Moore was a part of that. So he's going to bring that to Philadelphia with tons of reports of it already, of moving guys like Devontae Smith, moving them into the slot, moving them all over the field, creating actual mismatches. It's not we're really high T. It's man versus man. We're going to beat you. No, use some strategy, man. Like, there's a reason that the Miami Dolphins get Tyreek moving, because he's already at full speed once the play starts. It's a huge advantage, so use that. So for the Philadelphia Eagles, we're very excited what Kellen Moore should be bringing to this offense for a team that was, if memory serves, like they were near the bottom of the league in terms of motion, and you saw what happened to their offense. Like the second half of the year, it sure felt like people had figured out how to stop the Philadelphia Eagles. Hopefully they can't stop them.
I am hesitant to bring Mike Fuentes into this conversation and allow Mikey A to ask another question, because what I want for this segment is for Mike Wright to help the audience, not to help the individual people associated with this show, with their draft and their team. And with that said, I bring in Mike Fuentes to ask a question I'm sure has nothing to do in terms of positive information for the audience and is only concerned about his own team. Mike Fuentes, go ahead.
Well, actually, me and Danny B are taking a look at Mike's desk, and he has Powerline there next to him on his right, Tua Burrow, his Air Jordan coffee mug. It looks like Newman right here in front of the camera. And then I'm really in love with the huge Indiana Jones Funko Pop there underneath the guitar. That's probably my favorite thing.
Man.
Yeah, but Mike, none of that matters right now. I'm doing a 16-team league this year.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay?
Good Lord.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Listen, you got off to a good start. You talked about his desk and all the things around it. What's the matter with you?
He sucked me in. Dude, look, anyone who knows the icon that Powerline actually is, they're okay in my book.
Yeah, that's right.
Darn right.
Eye to eye. Goofy.
Darn right.
A banger. Yeah.
It's your book. I mean.
No, but my real question is, I feel like tight end is kind of one of the most shallow positions. It's basically you have Laporta and then you have Kelsey and then just a grab bag of guys. So if I want to like target somebody in later rounds, do you have a suggestion outside of like a McBride or somebody who might be a sleeper, or even like a Kyle Pitts who's kind of in like a now or never type year? Like, who would you suggest would be a good sleeper for a tight end in this coming season?
Sure. I would start off saying that this year at tight end, at least guys at the top, it's way heavier than it's been in a long time. It has been Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, log out. It has been that for years and years. And now you got Kelce, Laporta, McBride, Andrews, and I'll even put Dalton Kincaid in there. Those are 5 players that none of them would shock me if they finish as the tight end 1 at the end of the year. But I would say the 16-teamer is a little bit different. So this is a 12-teamer sleeper. We'll start there. What is Jake Ferguson of the Dallas Cowboys? My second Cowboy I'm going to mention here. But he led tight ends in red zone targets. It just didn't come through as much as it should. Historically speaking, Dak Prescott has always favored the tight end position going way, way back. But Ferguson was essentially a rookie last year. It's his second year, but it was his first year really being the starter. So he can even improve from what he was, which was really a breakout for fantasy football. And if you're looking, let's see, a deep sleeper. All right, I'll give you 2. One of them I hate, but I have to bring it up anyways. It depends on where you play, I should say, depending on your platform. But Taysom Hill of the New Orleans Saints, I hate it because it's so gadgety and it drives me crazy. But I'm not sure I love anything in this world the way that the New Orleans Saints seem to love Taysom Hill. This guy gets to line up all over the field. He gets to take snaps away from the starting quarterback sometimes. And there's platforms out there like Sleeper where he is still eligible to go into the tight end position. And then other than that, dude, you got to start strong. I'll say that. It's if you can start strong and buy a few weeks at the tight end position and then figure it out on the waiver wire, one of my favorite guys to start that right now, at least, just start, Hunter Henry of the New England Patriots. He got off to a really, really hot start last year, and his opening schedule, his opening 3 to 4 games, very favorable, at least based off of what defenses did last year. Defenses will change, of course, but Hunter Henry is a guy who I think that if you have completely punted the position, even in a 16-teamer, I don't know if anybody's really going to be on Hunter Henry, and you can pick him up and play him the first couple weeks and then just make that your priority for the waiver those first couple weeks, grab a tight end.
Mike, for me, I haven't done my drafts yet, but I've done a lot of mocks. And one name that keeps jumping out at me where I can't believe he's still there. I mean, go back a year, Cooper Kupp was going top 8 picks probably. And now I'm seeing him in the 4th round, 5th round. But like he was hurt and he came back and he's still got his volume. What do you make of like the Puka Nacua Cooper Kupp share with the Rams?
I think that people are writing Cooper Kupp off just too quick. Look, Puka Nacua it's extremely exciting what he did of breaking the rookie reception record and all that. Like the fact that he did that from being a 5th round draft pick, I think that's part of like such of the intrigue. You know, when Jamar Chase, his rookie year is awesome for fantasy football, no one's surprised. But because of the whole story of Puka Nacua, I think that really does – it gets in your bones, man. Fantasy football is emotional. We try to pretend that it's statistics and I'm a robot and I'm going to – no, man, the guys who are on my team, those are the best players in the NFL because they're on my fantasy football team. And when they have bad games, like it's personally affecting me. So the fact that Cooper Kupp, who, when he came back, like you said, from the injury, he did have a couple good games. I think both him and Puka can coexist. I think Puka's being drafted too high, and I think Cooper Kupp's being drafted too low. Having said all that, everything rides on Matthew Stafford, who, I mean, look, I think we're okay. He had a little bit of hamstring tightness, but his injury concerns. Like, if Stafford goes down, that whole everything, Kyron, Puka, Cooper Kupp, it's all ruined. And he has been a little bit more fragile dealing just these chronic back problems. So that's the risk involved with the Rams. But Kupp's ADP is sensational, and hopefully we're not moving it.
Mike, has there been a guy over all the years you've been playing fantasy football that you drafted and he absolutely wrecked your season, wrecked your league, wrecked your team, and you swore never to draft him again?
Yeah, there are definitely those players. Yeah. Recently, it's been T. Higgins.
Okay.
Who and he just keeps breaking my heart over and over, but I still pound the table and I say he's a really good player. He's not Jamar Chase level. He doesn't have to be. He's a really, really good wide receiver. And my main league, it's a keeper league, so you get 3 players and you hold over. And so these last 2 years I've had T, and it's just been emotionally draining for me. And yet I'll be back over here saying he's got Joe Burrow. Everything makes sense for T. Higgins. And then the other one was it wasn't a draft, but it was DeAndre Swift. The year back when he was on, not the Eagles year, but the Lions year, where I traded essentially at like all my big ammo to trade in my main league to go for a championship. All of it went into DeAndre Swift. It didn't work. It didn't work. And then I'm stuck holding the bag because there's nothing I can do. I can't make good trades. My ammo's gone. No one wants Swift. So we'll see how he does for the Bears, but him and T are the most recent fantasy burns all over my body.
You seem to be very high on Anthony Richardson from what I've seen. I think I saw that in your rankings in a 4-point touchdown league. You have him higher than Patrick Mahomes on your rankings.
I can go and verify that, but I will say, regardless of that, yes, extremely bullish on Anthony Richardson, and he is the difficult case where you can get mad that fantasy football is not real football. Like these guys that run, these quarterbacks that run, it is a totally unfair advantage. That's like the reason why Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts are the elite for fantasy quarterbacks is because they run so much. And that's simple math. 10 yards on the ground, 1 point. 25 passing yards, 1 point. I'd rather a guy who runs for 50-plus yards every single game. And it's projecting what Anthony Richardson could do. Obviously, it's really high risk. We've seen him play 2 games, full games. We've seen him been in more, but he keeps getting knocked out with injuries. So it's a really high risk situation for him. But I think that he's going to run so much, and as long as he can, give us 3,200 or so passing yards, that with the amount that I think he's going to run, especially around the goal line, he's going to be one of these guys that maybe you don't necessarily want to watch it because he's completing 58% of his passes. But when he's running that much and getting all those rushing touchdowns, you're not going to care.
Is Jalen Hurts someone we should be concerned about with Chase and Kelsey retiring?
So I think it's a combination of things, right? Because you have Jason Kelsey. We get to find out this year, the tush push, who was really responsible for it, because the broadcasts like to remind you each and every single time that he does it, that guy squats 650 pounds. You're like, yes, I know, Troy. You already told me that this game that he is very strong. I get it. He has strong legs. But is it Jason Kelsey? Because other teams have tried to do it, and they can't seem to have the success rate that the Philadelphia Eagles have. You also have Saquon Barkley, who, I just mentioned DeAndre Swift. Swift actually had a ton of carries inside the 5. He just was a professional at getting tackled and stopped at the 1-yard line, which gave all those rushing touchdowns to Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley, you want to talk about guys that squat, Saquon Barkley could do that too. So I think that will be the difference of – I think the rushing touchdowns for Jalen Hurts go down, but all that stuff I talked about with Kellen Moore, you're hoping it balances out with some more passing touchdowns, which it really should happen. His touchdown mark was too low last year.
Jaden Daniels seems to be one of those guys that you might want to get. Like, what do you do with him? Where is he going in mock draft, Jaden Daniels?
So he is one of our favorite targets. My favorite personal quarterback targets, it starts with Kyler Murray, because you can get him usually in like the 6th or 7th round, and like he is back. The fact that the moment he came back last year for the Arizona Cardinals, they went from one of the worst offenses in the league to immediately a top 10 offense. Just because Kyler was back. Now you add Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler's my favorite target, but Jaden is right up there. He might even be my second favorite guy to draft because of the upside. everything I just said about a quarterback running, it applies 100% to Jaden Daniels. Plus, Jaden Daniels, like, I'm more confident as Daniels being a good passer in the NFL than I am for Anthony Richardson. Like,
wow.
The numbers at LSU are outrageous. Meanwhile, the college tape on Richardson, it's tough, man. You would see him throw a pass that only he could throw, and then the very next pass, you're like, has this guy ever thrown a football? Like, that's how wild the accuracy jumps were for Richardson. But Jaden Daniels, just absolutely John Madden football type numbers from LSU last year. Cliff, I know him well because I'm an Arizona boy, so I watched his offenses. They're not the most creative things in the entire world, but I think that you'll get enough that drafting him is a really good idea. We've been telling people, even if you invest, whenever you invest in a quarterback, you might want to draft Jaden Daniels at the end just in case. He is the prototypical late-round quarterback that can break fantasy football. Like, it's a long time ago, but Lamar's MVP season, he was being drafted right around where Jaden Daniels was drafted.
Yeah,
and it was like you could have screwed up 8 picks, but because you got Lamar right, he turned into a championship team.
Mike, when should you start thinking about a quarterback? Not in the first round, not in the second round, right?
Yeah, no, don't do it that early. But the numbers are actually, it plays out more of take the early guy, take Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. You can take them in Mahomes. I'll go Allen, Hurts, Mahomes, Lamar. If you're going to go early, it's okay because the hit rate, historically talking about quarterbacks drafted in that range, the hit rate for them to at least be a top 5 quarterback is very strong. Obviously, if you draft a quarterback, the first one, you want him to be the first overall quarterback, but just saying the percentage chance that they will not destroy you is pretty good. It's actually those middle quarterbacks. Those are the guys that historically are not coming through with their floor, and it's not coming through with their ceiling. So those middle round quarterbacks, that's actually where I avoid it. I either jump in early or I wait later, and I'm leaving the draft with like Jared Goff and Jaden Daniels.
The Fantasy Footballers 10th Anniversary Megalith Show is going to be held this Saturday in Los Angeles live at the Palace Theater. For tickets, go to ballerslive.com. Mike, congratulations first on 10 years. When you started
you seem surprised it was this Saturday, by the way.
No, it's that I'm wondering if Mike is surprised that 10 years on, this is where he is right now.
Yeah.
Not on this shitty show is not what I meant.
So this show started where the three of us all works together at a tech company making video games where all we wanted to do was spend our time talking about fantasy football. That company actually goes under. We're all trying to find jobs. The other guys are working, like getting their real estate license. I'm trying to start a beard oil company. Trying to what are we going to do, boys? And then we're like, hey, it's 3 guys upstairs in a kid's converted bedroom, just sweating our balls off because it's Arizona and you have to turn the AC off to record because that's how loud it was in that house. The fact that it's there to 10 years later and we have like a big office, we have multiple employees, we have an incredible team. Yes, it is extremely surprising.
What is your personal favorite fantasy, I guess, type league? Like, is it individual teams? Like, what is your preference, Mike? My preference,
first off, is the ones that I win. I like those ones the best.
Yeah, of course.
But I like keeper leagues. I mean, look,
I hate keeper leagues, man.
Oh, get on board, man. Look, Dynasty is really fun because you get to I drafted Evan Ingram in our Dynasty League in the rookie draft. I just traded him this year. So his entire career was on my team. So it's like Evan Ingram's one of my guys. I'll love that guy forever.
Hard to let go, huh?
Yeah. Oh, very, very, very difficult. But those can be tough. Like if your team falls apart and you're trying to rebuild and actually trying to win, it can take a while. Where keepers gives you just a little taste of that, where maybe you find lightning in a bottle. Like our main keeper league, I got Antonio Brown right before he turned into Antonio Brown, and I kept him through that whole entire run, and people hated it because they knew in that league no one else is ever going to have Antonio Brown. He's mine. He's on my team.
Right.
So getting a taste of that, the attachment to some of the players, I like that more than the full start over, and I like it a little bit more than I just have everybody forever.
All right, so give me a guy who's worth a flyer at each of these positions. Late in the draft, okay, you're reaching, you're just trying to find the guy that has some upside or is an injury away from becoming the guy. Let's start with running back, the running back position. Give me a flyer at running back.
Okay, so I threw out Rico Dowdle for you. The other one I'll throw out is let's go, man, it's tough, but I'll go J.K. Dobbins, Los Angeles Chargers. One, because when he's healthy, his talent is unbelievable to me. I mean, we saw him a couple years ago return from an ACL, gets hurt, misses like 6 games, and comes back and he's still hurt, and he averages over 7 yards a carry. We called him JK1L because it was JK one leg. If you watched him running out there, he's literally throwing half of his body forward, just willing it to go down the field. But he's one of those players, like I talked about Rico Dowdle, of the Chargers are going to be a good offense. It's going to be high T. It's going to be the Greg Roman Harbaugh way over there. It's going to be run, but it's going to be effective. It always has been effective for Greg Roman offenses. So the fact that J.K. Dobbins is really late and could take over, he could be a steal really late.
All right, give me a flyer at wide receiver.
Okay, at wide receiver, let me think here. The name, it jumps to, so I'll give you two guys.
Okay.
One is Dontavian Wicks of the Green Bay Packers. His like the super nerd metrics that we talk about in fantasy football, like yards per route run, targets per route run, these types of things that most casual NFL fans have never heard of. He scores really, really well in them, and these are metrics that we use to find guys that can truly break out. The question for him is, will he be on the field? Where they have an embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver position. It just comes down to if Dontavian gets an opportunity, I think that he will come through. And the other one I'm going to throw out Khalil Shakir of the Buffalo Bills. Had an awesome yards per reception this past year. The whole wide receiver crew for the Buffalo Bills is in flux. What you know is the offense will be good. Josh Allen will probably throw for 4,500 passing yards, 30-plus passing touchdowns. It's just who's going to benefit from it. Curtis Samuel already dealing with turf toe. Keon Coleman is a rookie, and I think he'll be pretty inconsistent. So Shakir is a deep flyer.
Dontavian Wicks-Stugotz was one of those guys last year that we would pick like over-under on like receiving yards because he'd get like 1 or 2 targets a game and he'd break out like a 15-yard reception if he caught the one target that he would get per game, which is why he was crazy. By the way,
staple of Billy's big board, yes.
Exactly right. In addition to the 10th anniversary, if you want, you can get the Ultimate Draft Kit at ultimatedraftkit.com. A portion of that will go to St. Jude's, which you guys have done a great job raising money over the years. Stugotz, you're going to like this. As part of the Ultimate Draft Kit, you can get a risk and upside meter to be checking in on players.
Oh, wow. What does that look like? Just explain that to me, Mike. That's exciting.
Yeah, so it's with all the players, you can see out their projections because that's how we do it. We start at the quarterback and then start divvying things out to the rest of the team. But those are like median projections. I can't project that Devon Achane is going to run for 8 yards a carry. I can't do that because it's just not being intellectually honest. That's such an outlier. But what I can do then is in his upside meter, I go and I put he's at a 9. So what it looks like when you're looking at the players, it's just an easy little. There's a green bar and a red bar. High red bar means high risk. High green bar means high upside.
Wow.
Make it easy.
I mean, send me the entire kit if you don't mind.
Hey, boys, we can work it out.
Send them money.
Send them money. That's the point of this.
Everyone can get it.
That's the point of this.
I'm not going to send you money. I'm just asking for a kit. I mean,
it goes to children's hospitals.
I'll give you the money. 100% go to the children's hospital or no?
A portion. Man, I got a business to run too.
Okay. All right. I would like my 100% to go to the children's hospital if you don't mind, Mike. Okay.
All right. I'll tell you what. You make a donation. I'll get you a free draft kit.
Okay.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That is, Billy, you're going to have to show me how to make a donation. I've never done it before.
I think you're telling on yourself, man.
Yeah, I don't care. I've been telling on myself
His
for 20
life
years.
is telling on himself.
Give me a flyer quickly here, like a late round guy that you might like at tight end.
Ooh, tight. I mean, Hunter Henry's about as nasty as you want to get there.
Okay.
But I'll throw one more out for you. Let's go. Like, we don't know exactly what the Baltimore Ravens passing attack is going to look like, but Isaiah Likely, the other tight end for that team, he was very serviceable.
He had some games last year.
Yeah, when Mark Andrews went down, Isaiah Likely was an excellent pickup and just a full plug-and-play tight end. And just with the progression of his career, it wouldn't be a surprising thing if their focal point of the offense is Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and then like they've been trying to find that other wide receiver for years. The reports on Rashad Bateman they've always up, always down, getting hurt all the time. It wouldn't surprise me if they switch things up and they feature Isaiah Likely a little bit more.
Do you ever give your fake team, your fake players, a fake pregame speech? Like, how does that work?
Oh yeah. You got to order them in your starting lineup appropriately. You move a guy up to RB1 like I'm giving you the confidence boost today, man. I'm putting you at my RB1. Don't let me down.
You've been promoted to RB1.
Yeah, and they care. They
act like an RB1. Yeah. Are you mean like Brian Flores, or are you nice like McDaniel?
Too soon.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm more of a McDaniel motivational with positivity.
What is the thing, since Fuentes brought it up earlier, we haven't heard from him since, the thing that you were proudest of around that desk?
Oh, I mean, I love the power line, and I don't know if you can see. I might be blocking it. I'm the weatherman right now. If you can see Bill and Ted back here.
Ooh.
That's who that is in the orange jacket. I didn't know. Is that
big time Bill and Ted.
Is that Donovan McNabb on your bookshelf running?
I don't know. It might be
Right next to the Vans.
Number 6.
Yeah, is that no? It's Smith. Then it has to be Devonta Smith.
Yeah,
and I like your retro Bucks helmet too. Very nice.
that one's signed by Mike Evans.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
Oh, I like it more now. Send me that too with the kit. All right.
Yeah.
All right, the Fantasy Footballers, you can check them out on Spotify, Apple. You can check out their website, fantasyfootballers.com. Mike Wright, we appreciate this. We're sorry Nitro couldn't make it. He parlayed his success with you last year into his own fantasy show. So thank you, though, buddy.
Hey, no, I appreciate it. Again, I love cutting it up with you guys. You're a good group of guys to talk with, so anytime, you let me know.
All right, we'll do it again soon. My biggest regret is not starting a fantasy show. That's
Don't worry. I'll clip this for our award nominations, Stugotz. We're good.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah,
Happy 10th anniversary to you, man.
Thank you.
All right.